Today's guest in the podcast is Ethan Rosen. The last time Ethan and I talked, we were fishing for lobsters and shit on Karamja. Ethan makes music on SoundCloud. You can follow him at Brother Remus. He makes all the outro music for my channels. And you can also subscribe to him on YouTube at Cosmic Cobbler. Enjoy the podcast. Yesterday I was lifting and I came back home and I had like this sense of like stultifying anxiety, and I couldn't like pinpoint what it was. And it was at the point when like, if you use any sort of like, if you ever had like a dependency on anything, you kind of like are used to having a craving for it. But there's a point where it's like you get so, I don't know if like disillusioned is a word, but you get to the point where you don't really know what that urge is anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know if you ever like relate to that, but like.
Totally. I think that kind of comes with addiction in general, is that I feel like once you become a bit dependent on something, there's always going to be this lingering anxiety, but I feel like more so this lingering guilt. It's like this feeling of, oh, I shouldn't be thinking about this. Like when you're allowed to occasionally, like you're allowed, like it's all moderation, right? It's just like the concept of doing things in moderation. And if something is obviously something that you can't handle or manage, then you do need to cut it out, at least for a portion of your life, or at least figure out a way to manage it. But within that, you kind of get like this back and forth between like hating yourself for thinking about it, and then also being like, oh, I'm gonna think about it because I can, and whatever. And that's almost like an apathetic thing, which can be just as bad as the guilt. You know, it's almost like not controlling yourself. You sort of have a lack of self-control.
Yeah. No, so, I think
I don't know.
The apathy, I think, is the worst part, because that's when it like all of the cravings and the urges kind of like blur together, so you can't pinpoint if you're thirsty or if you like want to like go back on like whatever you're dependent on. Like that sucks. And when you said moderation, there's like a quote, I think it's by Oscar Wilde, where he says, everything in moderation, including moderation. And that's what I live by sometimes, like back in the day when like I wanted to just kind of like pig out or whatever. But for a lot of people, you can't do that. Like if you're an alcoholic, you can't just jump right back. Like Steve-O has this quote. It says, once you become a pickle, you can't go back to being a cucumber. So it's like if you have a problem with alcohol, you can't just like sip a beer after you've been like a raging alcoholic for, your entire life, because you're just gonna go back. So I feel for me, like with food, I feel like it's a lot, like I understand that food, alcohol, like cocaine, like all hit the same part of your brain, like once you indulge in it. But I feel like food, for whatever reason, that's something you can always kind of like pop back to. Like you can kind of pop back to baseline like pretty quickly. But in terms of just like drugs, like whether that be smoking, weed or nicotine, alcohol, like all hard drugs, I think it's one of those things where you just go right back to where you left off. Like
I don't know. I feel like yes and no. I think it does depend on the person, but also it could depend on like the perspective of the situation. Like I feel like some people outwardly, you're like, oh, they are addicted to this. Like this is something that they're addicted to, but then they're functional, or they just, it's just a part of them. It's just like their regular life. It's like, I feel like smokers are a great example of that, where like a lot of people that smoke are just, normal people. They just like go down the street, do their job, do whatever, but they, at the same time, they're smoking like 2 packs a day or something, something obscure out there. It's just, you never can know what works for someone. Not to say that it's not addiction and it's not bad, but I feel like the assumption that everyone is aware of their addiction is really what it is. Like maybe that's it. Like, and I was kind of having this conversation with someone the other day, and it is along the same lines. It's like, I don't know if everyone has the capability to be self-aware or to have self-awareness. Like, I think when you go through something like addiction or conscious addiction, where you like have that guilt and you have that like cycle of like, oh, I want this, oh, I can't, oh, I want this, oh, I know it's bad for me, oh, I can't. I feel like that makes you very conscious of yourself and how you're feeling because naturally you're more introspective. But I don't know if everyone can do that. I don't know if it's the same for everybody is the biggest thing.
No, because I think it comes down to like the apathy you feel. It's like your ability to internalize like that shameful feeling. So a lot of
Right.
people who I feel like, in my experience, the people who aren't self-aware or people who like project the most and do the least introspection. So yeah, I think you're on the dot with that. But like in terms of just like, I don't know, because yeah, the self-awareness part is like huge because you can go about your life because like the pain and like a lot of the anguish and like the destruction of your addiction actually comes from like the self-hatred aspect too, because then like you enter in the like these vicious like feedback cycles.
Right.
So that's
And
interesting.
there's definitely some people that like they don't have that reaction. Like not everyone is like a guilty, self-loathing alcoholic or
Yeah.
cigarette addict or, person that is overweight or something, like it's just like some people don't care. They're past that point. They're like, this is my life. I'm going to do it this way. I don't care.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I don't know if it's obviously not fine. I don't think it's fine. I feel like it's going to catch up with people at some point, in some shape or form. But I don't know. And I don't even mean it in the addiction way, like individually, just that. Like I just mean in general. Like, does everyone have the capability to be self-aware?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like you know what I mean? Like maybe some people just don't have the capacity to. It's not even, and that's nothing against intelligence or emotional maturity or anything of that sort. I just because you can have super smart people that aren't self-aware, or
You're right.
super, unintelligent people that are just not self-aware. I don't think it is linear. I don't think there's any sort of specific attributes that attribute to that.
Well, I have two things to that. One is that I don't think it's intelligence, but I do think emotional intelligence does definitely play a role because if you, I'm not saying it's going to always lead to it, but if you have negative emotion, you're usually going to identify that and be mindful of it. And if you're at least mindful of it, then you're going to be self-aware at some point. So I feel like True. It is an emotional intelligence thing, and not to say that that's good or bad.
You're right. Objective. That's a good point, and I totally agree. Actually, now that you said that, definitely agree.
And then the second thing is that this also might be because I read this thing the other day about how some people don't have an internal monologue, and I was like, how is that even possible? Like, what's that about?
You're like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, I was like, that's so weird. But then you think about it, it's like, I guess like some people think. Well, first of all, I was like, people think in like shapes and shit. I was like, how do people think? But I guess people are just like pure like imagery, but like the way that like I'm like talking to myself 24/7. So like that is so foreign to me. So I don't know. Like I really don't know.
No, I mean you get used to the voice that's living in your head. Like you just sort of like a part of you. And I'm sure that with a lot of insanely introverted people, not even introverted, but introspective people, that you get this sense of almost schizophrenia. Like I've definitely had times where I'm, just ruminating so much to the point where I'm like, am I fucking schizophrenic? Like, excuse me, but like, am I going crazy? Like I just don't, and it's hard. Like it's like you hear this voice in your head and you're like, I must be crazy. Like not everyone's like this, but it's like, no, everyone's like that. It's just weird. Like, but you're right. It's more excessive for some people, like than others, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like the only like the saving grace to that is if you have some form of social interaction, like every few hours, or like. But if you live alone, or like, because I remember when I was in college, my freshman year of college, my roommate moved out like before school started, so I think he transferred schools or something. But no, like, because it's really hard to make friends like that first part of college. Actually, I guess it's pretty easy if you go and do go to clubs or like
depends.
school clubs
I think it really depends.
Yeah, but for me, Sorry, keep going.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think it like really just depends on your circumstance. Like,
Yeah.
I went to a branch campus of Ohio State my my freshman year because I couldn't get into main campus, and it was like just an easy way to get in.
Hmm.
Is you spend a year at a branch campus, and I just got lucky by meeting the people I did the first day. Like, where
Yeah.
like the first day of classes, like they had like, or a couple days before, they had like a freshman meet and greet thing where I met almost all my friends that I'm still friends with today. Like, or at least a good chunk of them that I've like, associated with all of college,
Yeah.
which is cool. But some people were probably at that same freshman meet and greet and didn't meet anybody.
Yeah.
And like, I think it just depends with people, but then also, yeah, your self confidence.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I
Well,
wasn't the one to go into like club meetings or like intramural sports, and I didn't go out to drink. I didn't start drinking until like my sophomore year. So that's like that. My anxiety, and I didn't gain too much weight that year, but my anxiety was so bad because I think it was that sort of reason, because you just go crazy because like when you in that same vein, like you're also overthinking, so like your overthinking just gets amplified. It's like feedback on a microphone, you know what I mean? So it's like you just go like fucking crazy when you just like hear that same thing over and over again.
well, and it's not even that. I think that when you are going through depression, because that's the biggest thing that I think causes it, at least in my experience. I find that I have anxiety pretty much every day in some shape or form. Like, there's always like that tickle in my chest that, like, when I use something like CBD, I will see it go away. Then that's the only time that I'm aware of it. But with depression, I think that that's when you find yourself cycling, like you do like loops. Like, I'm sure that you've noticed this with friends or something. Like, when you're talking to a friend about, say it's even like a breakup, or they're going through something, they keep making the same point. They keep isolating on the same point, like, oh yeah, you're right, I should have not done this, or oh yeah, you're right, there's a lot of negative things with that. But come on, like, let's think about this same thing again over and again. They like keep talking about it,
Mm.
and that's essentially what you're doing in your head, just for your alone. Like, that's all it is.
No, I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had an experience with that recently where I was with a family friend, who's like, in her late 50s, mind you, and it was in a domestically abusive relationship, and like, she it's called battered wife syndrome, where like you will um, romanticize your partner even though they've done physical damage and mental damage towards you. And she kept being like, oh, I should have just moved in with him. Like, I should have just moved in with him at the house. I should have just moved in with him. And then we'd be like describing all these things, why not? And, she'd get to a point where she's like, yeah, you're right. And then she'd be like, but I should have just moved in with him.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it literally, like, I was going crazy trying to help her. So,
Right.
like, I can't imagine what it's like being in, well, I can't imagine because I've been in those situations, like, with myself, but like, yeah, I just feel like you go in circles. You go in circles. I feel like it's normal, but I do think
Yeah.
that's more associated with depression.
Yeah, and I think I agree. I was gonna say it's because there's I don't know. I think it was oh shit. I think it's a Nietzsche quote. It's
Yeah, yeah, classic.
it
I was literally
he
gonna mention him.
he said all wisdom is grounded in experience. So whenever like you want to give advice to someone, like I've given advice to friends who were in bad relationships for like years, and they could always bounce off their head. And like in therapy, when you go to therapy, they don't just tell you, or like counseling or any form. Like if you go to like in college, I went to counseling for like 2 years, and they don't just tell you outright like what the issue is, because like they've seen. I mean, your situation is going to be unique, but like they definitely have seen enough people to figure what your issue is. But to just tell you outright is not going to help you. So they have to do like inception level shit where like they kind of like make you get to that point so you have your own breakthrough.
Yeah, baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps. I feel like it's just like, you can't just like, when you're making a soup, you're not just gonna like have a nice boiled soup and just like throw a freaking onion in it and be like, yeah, this is perfect, it's ready, let's eat it, like, we're good, it's all good now, like,
Yeah.
it's way too jarring. Like, you won't be able to process it at all. Like, I feel like and especially when you're in that loop phase, when you're just on the wheel, you're spinning on the wheel, you can't stop the wheel. Like you can't, no way. Like the wheel ain't, it's
Right.
not going to stop. It's fun, but it's funny that you mentioned Nietzsche, just because, yeah, he's a prime example of too much isolation being a bad
Hmm.
thing. Like he went crazy. He
Yeah.
isolated himself and then went crazy. So like, I don't know.
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say about that? Yeah, if you do like a lot of these things that lead up to depression are like they're year-long endeavors. So it's like to even on paper to even think about that solution to like all that building up to be done in like a in a snap of the fingers, like that doesn't
Mhm.
even make sense then.
Yeah. Well, it's like losing weight. Like losing weight's
Yeah.
a prime example. You're not just gonna lose 200 pounds or 300 pounds or 50 pounds. Like it's just not gonna happen. It's gonna take months and time.
Yeah.
And I'm learning patience by having a kitten right now. I'm constantly like, when are you gonna be an adult cat? I don't want you to be small anymore.
Yeah.
You're so annoying. Like you're so annoying. Like he just bites me all the time. And I'm
Yeah.
always just like, Jesus Christ, like you're cute, but
You're cute,
grow
but
up,
you're
like
on thin
grow up.
ice, bro.
But it's gonna take a while to get there. Like it's gonna take like
Yeah.
8-9 months until it's there, um, and it's a process. And
Yeah.
you know, I think that people, the worst thing people do is to ignore that process rather than embracing it. I feel
Right.
like it's always looks like a task, like a hard task, or just like this chore. Whereas I think the best way to go about trying to grow and get over something, or you know get through something, is to fully make it a part of you. Don't
Right.
ignore it. Don't be like, oh, this isn't me. This isn't me. Because the more that you do that, the more you're just gonna like dig yourself into a hole.
Right.
So
Um, there's Jordan Peterson said this in one of his videos. He said, it was like a Knights of the Round Table thing, and it was like when the king lost like his ring, he sent the knights like each knight out to go find it, and the place each knight went and looked was the place that appeared darkest to them. So it's like the place that they like haven't explored or like they didn't want to explore, like the place that was so unknown to them. But
yeah,
like those places are the places that you're going to find like your salvation. So and you have to
yeah,
face them like head on. Like
yeah,
and that requires a level of self-awareness and a level of how like willing, and I don't even mean this in the obnoxious like you need to be disciplined, all those things, but it's like if you have to sit there and be uncomfortable with yourself and realize that like this is a human experience. So
yeah. Willpower for sure is a huge thing. I mean, and something that you said in one of your videos that I've taken to heart since you said it was the itch anecdote, where you're doing meditation and you're saying, I would feel an itch and I would do everything I could to not itch it and just sort of like sit in that itch, like
mm,
it's like experience what it's like to have that itch going on. And it's so true. And I've even used that as like a way of helping other people. So like already it's just being like, use this as like think about the itch, like think
hell
about the
yeah.
itch, like be the itch, like
Yeah.
you got it. So like, I don't know, it's very valid. Like, and
Yeah.
some people aren't going to want to be uncomfortable, and that's why
Yeah.
some people really won't change. And it sucks to say that. I don't think that the whole "oh, people don't change" thing is. I think that's a whole load of crap.
Me
Like
too.
that is such a load of crap, because it's just so wrong. Like so many people change. So many people have the
Yeah.
capability to change. If anything, I would say most people have the capability to change, and it's more a minority that doesn't, that fully is just can't. And that kind of goes back though to that self-awareness thing.
Yeah.
I
It
feel like
does.
the people that can't change are just people that don't have the capacity to be self-aware.
I agree. Because if you, yeah, the emotional intelligence part, if you realize that you're unhappy, you're like,
Yeah,
why is my life like, why do I have the same, why do
yeah,
I date the same people since high school? Why have I, been attracted to like
yeah.
these certain friends? Like, so what was I going to say about that shit? Um, Damn, dude, I don't remember.
Oh, it's okay.
Mercury's in Powerade. Damn it, dude.
Mercury is in Powerade.
Dude, no. I'm gonna tip my tongue. All right, well, I'll remember it. But yeah, because I mean, like, even for me, if you want to believe that people do change, is that for me, like, I like going back home and then like meeting with people, like, you know, during college we came home for like winter break or whatever, and we would see people from high school. It was weird because I didn't know. I was like, do I have to act like, I felt so out of place. I was like, I'm a completely different person here. Do I act like I acted then? Do I act who I act now? And like those situations, it's like, holy shit, like I am a completely different person. These people don't know me, and chances are I don't really know them. Like chances are they're probably going through the same thing.
No,
so
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, even like our friendship, like, we've known each other for a super long time, but like I'm not the same person that you knew when I was in high school, and you're not the same person that I knew when you were in high school. Because there's that period of time where it's just like, it's not that I was trying to ignore you or the same.
Right, that's how life went.
Like, yeah, you just drift apart for a little bit, but then like these random moments where you just kind of come back, and it's like you're definitely CK, like you're the same person, but there's like this different. It's just a different form. It's a different evolution of you.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, your essence is still there, but in terms of just like.
Yeah, exactly. Totally different. Which is good though. I love that.
Yeah, no, it is good.
It's like you can see, or I can see your confidence, and you can see my confidence, or you know, vice versa. Or I mean, it's more of an opposite way. You can, with some people, you can see them kind of go the other way, which is sucks. Obviously, it always sucks to like see a friend go the opposite way, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's the authenticity thing. And I think the thing that I value most is, I mean, this goes for anyone, like in any community, is that people like throughout high school, and maybe even in college, like they'll clown you for doing like stuff that you're into. Like if you like anime in high school, they're gonna clown you for that. But I was friends with a lot of people in college, and this was it kind of like the last person that I saw this in, that behavior was sort of like attenuated by senior year. But this dude was really cool. Like he like played World of Warcraft, and like he played at like a high level, and he played all the time. But on the surface, this dude was like a hard ass and everything, and like he never talked about it when we went out, and like he would always like, but when we were back like just hanging out, like, you know, we would talk about it all the time. So it was like, I don't understand why you don't just do that, because like I'm hyped to be around you now when we're talking about these things, but like it's like you don't have a personality. Like people, I mean, as you get older, I'm pretty sure people realize that you have like a certain facade, and they can pick up on it quicker. But I feel like but over time, if you double down on that facade, it's way harder for you to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, because it becomes your identity. And to take off that mask is to remove your identity. Like it's just like and if you've created this super different personality that really isn't you.
Yeah, you're like, I have to start over.
It would be sort of like what you're saying with like the psychologist or counseling thing. Like you'd have to retract slowly. You'd have to like go a different way and kind of inch yourself away, like by steps. You can't just be like, oh yeah, guys, I actually am not a cowboy. Like I'm actually a doctor. Like I don't know what the best example is.
Yeah, no, that's perfect actually. Like you just show up to like fucking you show up to the ranch in like a white coat. You're like, whoa, dude.
You're like, this is the real me. Like, let me use my stethoscope on you.
Yes, that's a stethoscope, not a lasso, bro.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I feel that the small increments, like, yeah, that's crazy, because that's in the same vein. If you want to change, when you get to that point, if you want to like reduce the hurt or whatever, in the same way, like if you want to like attenuate your addiction. Well, wait, let me try to reform that. Like the realization of both being addicted and being dependent, and the fact that like your personality has been like a front or whatever you want to call it. The same realizations of like having to burn away the dead wood and like start over. I feel like are the same things. And like when I got to that point, when I was losing weight and I was like realizing that like I could actually take up space and things like that and not feel like shitty about it, people would take like offense to that. Like they would tell me that I was acting out of character when really I was just like taking stuff up for the first time. And a lot of those people who said that I was acting out of character would straight up stop talking to me, and I was like, I wonder, did I actually like hurt them? I was like, did I do something to hurt them? But I realized that those people, and I don't want to sound trite when I say this, but it's just gonna happen. But like, those people were taking my kindness as weakness, and when I was like transitioning into that, you know, personality thing, a lot of those things that I was doing when I was like, you know, finding like stepping into my own power, whatever you want to call it, that was like too big of a step. And like those people were like, whoa, that's out of character. Like, is he, you know? So it was weird. So I
Right.
don't even know. Yeah.
Well, I think that's because you were starting to drink the antidote and they were poison.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds harsh, but it's like you were doing something that was opposite of what they were doing, or doing something that was against, like not against what they were doing, but like
They're benefiting from it.
Yeah, I think that misery loves company. That's like always like a
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so like if you, I mean, I think that's why incels are a thing. Like I think that's why like the whole idea of being an incel is a thing, because it's like you have one person think a certain way, then you have two people think a certain way, and then you have 5, 10, 15. Soon enough, it's like you sit in this bubble of negativity and bad habits, and people are just like, it's fine. Don't shower, don't brush your teeth, don't do what you need to do, like don't do anything. Just continue being, you know, what you're doing, the bad habits that you're doing. And when you stop doing that, it's gonna be court. That's the
You threaten them.
that's like, yeah, it's a threat. Like that is a threat. So, and that's hard. It's hard to wipe away the dirt. Like it's hard to realize that you shouldn't have certain people in your life, and that you have to remove them. And that's like one of the hardest pills to swallow. One of the hardest pills to swallow, and especially if you're like an empathetic person, like a naturally empathetic person. I think that's really hard, because like you care for people and you always want to be helping people that don't deserve it. Like that's the best way to describe it. It's like some people don't deserve it, but that's why I help those types of people, is because I'm like, no one's gonna want to, you know, no one's gonna. But at the same time, that can kind of be bad. Like that can kind of be an injustice to them, because it's like I'm stopping them from growing, and I'm keeping them in this safe space where it almost like enables the bad behavior.
Yeah, it's enabling for sure.
I don't know.
Because when you get into those groups, like you talk about incels, it's like the moment those two people start affirming their beliefs, whether they're right or wrong, they're gonna stick to that person, and that's just how it grows. But yeah, like that sucks, because obviously, like being outside of the incel culture looking in, it's just like, you know, work on yourself, blah blah blah. Like, you know, it's all about self improvement, self worth, realizing those things, doing things to go about that. But then you can go down a pretty dark hole like quick. Like I've just witnessed shit online, but
which I've found that like most incels are in that boat, or like a lot of them are. I mean, I'm sure there's a good portion that are just like actually trying to improve themselves, I guess. But
yeah, I feel like in that group, I feel like it's just like, if you are an incel, you are on the far end. You know what I mean? Like there's no like mid-range incel where you're sort of like, there's a chance for like, I don't know what the main concern is. Is it just looks? I think it's just looks. Like there is a chance for women to like be romantically interested in me, even though I'm not attractive. I feel like it's all like women are, you know, all they strictly care about is looks, genetics, all those things. But then actually that makes okay, I take that back, because then you have like the MGTOW community. You have like a bunch of dudes who are like not exactly incels, but they still have like an aversion to all of that, and they want to claim like they're like independent men who like want to go their own way.
Which that can go into its own dark territory too. Like not even dark territory. I feel like MGTOWs are like the arrogant form of an incel. You know, it's just like it's like the same vein, but it's just more of a confident incel. Like
it's like a pride thing. It's like
it's like
I'm not giving up. I'm going in myself, but still, fuck
yeah. And it's like I could take some things away from it, I guess, but for the most part, I'm like, just do like, and this goes back to one of your other videos that you're saying, which has also helped me, is like, don't talk about the improvements that you're doing. Like, you need to focus on them yourself, because when you talk about them, you're getting that early validation. Like, you're just
Hmm.
validating yourself all the time, and that can just be super unhealthy. Like, I just feel
Yeah,
like
because you're
it's
trying to move away from that. You're that
yeah,
gratification all the time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, which people don't realize that that is the same thing,
yeah,
because
they
like
don't.
when it's like, oh, I'm gonna gratify myself for the things I'm doing all the time. It's not the same as gratifying myself through indulging, or it's a form of indulgement. It's
Yeah,
definitely a form of
it's a
indulgement.
different medium or whatever, but you're not used to it. So
Yeah, because if you're spending your entire day on social media talking to people that are like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you for your what the thing you're doing," and you spent the whole day just sitting on your butt, like talking to those
yep,
people, like,
yep,
what are you actually doing? Like, you're not really doing it.
yeah,
Talking about people about the hypothetical thing you're gonna do.
yeah.
So,
And it's funny because I know, like, and people online, I mean, I'm proud of them obviously, but I just like I had this like pit in my stomach whenever people give weekly updates, especially when they're like a celebrity or if they have some sort of following and like they
yeah,
give weekly updates. It's like, dude, like you are not invulnerable to failure. Like if you
yeah,
fail, all these people like are totally up to date on what you're doing. So if you fail, like you're gonna take a huge L, and people are gonna be
yeah,
aware of it. But if you fail when you don't tell people about it, then it's like a private thing. Like the loss isn't that bad because like you're taking it like privately. You're like, okay, like I can. You're not thinking, oh, I just disappointed my 100,000 followers because I messed up.
right. Which, when I think about it, I feel like there could be some good to that, because I think that if you do have like a weekly update and there is a bad week, or there's a week where it's just you're struggling, I
Hmm.
do think that that kind of portrays a more realistic form
If you
of
talk about it,
updates.
if you talk about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. Not necessarily like, yeah. If you fail and you're like continuing to be like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing great, and it's
yeah, if
like,
you lie about it, it's like, dude.
yeah,
If
you're
you be
like, oh,
vulnerable about it, be like, hey, I had a really bad week this week, and people
yeah,
will talk about it.
okay,
You're like, oh, this happens, blah blah blah.
okay,
So it's like, yeah, that's good for
okay,
sure. But I
yeah,
don't want people like, dude, why'd you stop posting weight loss updates? And like you look at
yeah,
a picture and like they're way back. It's like, dude.
yeah. It
But if you
loses
have like the
potency. Yeah,
if you have the humility to be like, and also like broadcast your L's in the same
hmm,
level of like detail as you broadcast like your progress, then yeah, I agree. But I feel like nowadays in social media, again, don't want to sound trite, but since everything's like a highlight reel, I don't know how many people want to like actually sit down and get to a vulnerable level of someone they follow on social media and then have that conversation on social media. Like,
I mean,
I
I
don't know.
think that, yeah, it's gonna be more niche or niche, however you say it.
I say
Um,
niche.
Niche. I say niche too. Okay, I feel like it's always it's always a big battle.
Yeah, to each their own.
But yeah, I feel like it's gonna be more niche. So like, it's gonna be people that actually care about it, or are willing to spend the time, you know, being interested. But I also think that as that kind of comes with any project that is like small in the beginning and then gets bigger. I feel like you could have a really awesome channel talking about mental health, or you know whatever it is, and in the beginning you're going to be releasing 10-minute videos, 15-minute videos,
Yeah,
24-minute videos, however long, because it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get these videos out to talk to people.
right. You're
But
pumping them out.
once it gets to a point where you're like a public, binging
Yeah.
with Babish is a great example of that, in my opinion. I think
Who is?
binging with Babish, he creates like cooking videos.
Oh, I've never seen it.
I'm a big cooking video guy. I love
Okay.
cooking. So he like started out making these videos where he would just make meals from different movies, like, or
Okay.
like media forms. So he made like, I don't know, like pasta from the Lady and the Tramp or something. I don't
Okay.
know if he actually did that, but they're more interesting than that. And it's like a super fascinating channel. And he's up at like 7 million subscribers at this point. So, he's got a higher production. He's got, tons of videos. Like, there's so many parts of the channel now that it's so like convoluted in a certain way, not in a bad way. It's more
Mm-hmm.
just that,
Fragmented or whatever.
yeah, like fragmented, and then also like it's not just this one intimate video where you feel like, oh, I'm at this guy's house, which it
Right.
is still at his house in his home kitchen, but it's like just a bigger home kitchen that's obviously like he's put a lot of work into it, like you could tell the results. And that sucks because, you're going to cheer him on the entire way, which I have the entire
Mm.
way. I've been like, this is awesome. You're at freaking 7 million. That's awesome. That's sweet. But it does look more merchandise,
Yeah.
like more corporate. Or I don't
Yeah.
know, like more of a more ingenuine. Like there's probably some of those videos that he's like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to because it's
Right.
going to get me likes and it's going to, especially when it's your livelihood. Like it's your job. This
Right.
is your job now. Like
So it
just
becomes
things
less
like
of a
that.
passion, and it goes into like,
Yeah,
yeah, a job. I feel that. I feel like even the level of production sort of like changes like the intimacy of it.
for sure. No, for sure. That
Yeah.
intimacy, yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's like it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just with this guy,
Yeah.
this random guy. You
Because
don't
if
feel
you,
like,
yeah, I was gonna say, because if you watch a video like with some dude talking on a cell phone camera that's completely like raw, like not edited at all, but if you would like watch my videos and then say like I bought a camera that was like 4K, I only used this mic and I edited like my voice. And I edited like the video cuts. It's gonna be like I'm watching something that was like not monetized, but yeah, like corporate. It's gonna be like this was like
yeah. And I
yeah.
think that kind of goes into the theories of uh, hi-fi and lo-fi.
Hmm.
I did like a paper on this, which like wasn't I didn't I just did a lot of research and just like a big research paper about it. And it's because like high fidelity is hyper realistic.
Right.
It's not real. Whereas lo-fi is the opposite. It's like it's the raw, uncut, like layman. Like you're a layman. Like you're an everyday. You're an average Joe. Like
Right.
it's like the noises. Like everyone has a device that makes that noise or whatever. Whatever bullshit like that it is. But like I don't know. Like I just feel like the more level you are with everybody, people are going to relate to that more and naturally.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's like this hyper realistic, so far beyond, people are going to like that too because it's so out there and so, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
highly developed, but it's not going to be the same homey feeling as something lo-fi.
Isn't that like a big reason as to why people are buying like record players and stuff?
Yeah, for sure. You get like the
Yeah.
vinyl crack cool and you get like,
Yeah.
like the analog sound, like I don't know, it's a different sound.
Mm.
Most part, yeah, because I'm a vinyl guy. I collect vinyls. I do it because it's tangible. Like I just like
Mm.
having a physical piece of property that is like dedicated to that artist.
Yeah.
Especially since I only collect really artists that I really enjoy, really like care about. There was a phase where I would just go and get like dollar vinyls and stuff like that.
Mm.
I just found that it was taking up so much space,
Yeah.
and I didn't care about it. And I'm kind of not. I haven't done too much research on her, but like the Marie Kondo type mentalities. I don't know if you know
Mm.
who that is. You should look into it. She's like this Japanese lifestyle coach, writer. I don't know what you would describe her as,
Mm.
but the big thing that she says is like, if this doesn't spark joy in your life, just get rid of it. Like,
Oh,
just get
that's the
rid of it.
lady with the TV show.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. If it
She like
doesn't
helps
spark joy,
people with
like,
like the hoarders. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Just get rid of it. Like,
that's smart.
there's no point in having no. And I've done that. Like, I love like it gets to a point where you love getting rid of things because you don't need as much as you have. And
Yeah, for sure.
if you have the same shirts in your drawer, you haven't worn that shirt in years. It's like just get rid of it. You're never
Yeah.
gonna actually wear it. You're just taking up space. And the more space, physical space you take up, the more mental space it takes up too.
Yeah, that's true. Damn. Because I was gonna say I have like a closet full of shit. I have like a
Yeah,
bookshelf full of shit, and I'm like I
yeah.
could.
Just donate it.
I was gonna say if I had, and like it's not even just clothes. It's like books that I read in middle school. Like you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
It's just like I don't need any of
Right.
that.
Right. No, you
Yeah.
keep it. Some of it you keep for a sense of nostalgia, but
Mm.
I think there's a difference between nostalgia and mementos. I think mementos are totally like game. I think that's game. Like you could totally, they're all game. Like I think they're great. I think mementos are great, but I think nostalgia is a curse. I think
Really?
that like nostalgia is like one of these things that keeps people stuck and not changing because they want everything to feel like how it was, and it never will. And also your perception of how it was, quotes how it was, like it's not
It's not it.
how it was. It's like you were living how you're living now. Like you were feeling a certain. I mean, you're different than how you were then.
Right.
But
Rose tinted glasses. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like rose tinted glasses about your past. And I just feel like getting caught up in it can be good, but moderation. Because like if you're a person that's like, oh man, I miss back in high school, man. It's like that's why you have those people that are like, oh, college is the best 4 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's sad, bro. Like that sounds so
Yeah.
sad. Like college.
Damn,
like,
bro, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, like I'm sorry. Like how was that? Your peak was early. Like
Yeah.
that peak was a while ago. It's not like I don't know. You never want to have a peak. Like there's no.
Yeah, I
Why
feel
would
that.
you ever want that? So I
There's
don't
this
know.
one study. It was like I saw it on Reddit like pop up. It said that the key to happiness is engaging in new experience.
Mhm.
And nostalgia is one of those things where, like, if you think about it and you get hyped about, the golden ages or whatever, whatever you say to yourself.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, it is fun to like think about it and just like, sit around and daydream. But
Yeah, the
then,
salad
yeah.
days.
But engaging new experience doesn't feel as good as nostalgia feels. But then you're creating more nostalgia to like, fall back on. So
Definitely.
yeah, that's
Think
kind
about
of
your life
yeah,
now. Like make what you're doing important now because you're just creating good nostalgia for yourself later. It's like
right, yeah.
the more you dedicate to yourself to your life now, like it'll be good to reflect on later. Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was
Not to
thinking just like, sorry, keep going.
I was just saying not to live your life in that objective because that sounds so strange. But like I don't know, like it's so that's something to like encourage people to not get caught up in how it
Yeah, to like
was.
stay immersed and then like engage in like the
Yeah,
current moment. Yeah, because
definitely.
because past however many months of quarantine, like coming up on like at least 3. I don't know what it's been. It's been too long, but
Hmm.
like the first 2 months when you're doing nothing, you're just like, this sucks. Like I feel like I'm
Full
like
depression.
redlining. Yeah, so
Full
it's like
depression.
but I feel like at a certain point in the future, I'm gonna look back and be like, damn, like remember like those 4 like really quiet months, like the slow quiet months when like I was just listening to like this album over and over again. Like
Yeah.
that's sort of a form of nostalgia, even though it sucked. But like looking
Yeah.
back, you're like, that was that was a different time.
That was
yeah.
nice, and you're like,
Yeah.
no, it wasn't. That wasn't nice at all. I was sad. Like that was
Yeah.
really sad, like and anxious, like super
Yeah.
sad and anxious, and just like
But you don't,
what
yeah,
the
you
heck
don't
is
have
going
like
on?
access to those like negative
Yeah.
memories.
You're only gonna think back to
Yeah.
those positive ones where you're like, oh, I spent a lot of time with my family.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah. And when you were like, I want to die and I want to kill my family. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you look back and it's a totally just. I mean, sure, you can think of it as a correct perspective, but I just don't think
Mhm.
it's true. Like some nostalgia isn't the truth. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
You're
And
always gonna look back on it. It's good.
yeah. And I feel like the people who like, if you play that nostalgia thing out, it's like it's extreme, and you have like the people who base their identity around like a certain time period, or like a certain like they never grow up. It's like I think it falls right back to like the facade that we put up. Like it's just like the disillusionment of like that time was better than the other time. Like you always think about
Sure.
college, but it's like and maybe that just falls back on the whole self-awareness thing too. But
Or even just greed. I
greed?
think that greed.
Oh, greed.
Like I think that people are always wanting more, and even if that means good times, like
Yeah.
like well, it sounds weird, but yeah, it's like, oh, I wish I had more good memories.
Yeah.
Like, because you're always going to look at other people and on the outside perspective, and like some people, I feel like are one really charismatic, and then will tell you about all these things they did in their life, and their stories, and their adventures they went on, and the time that they tamed a lion in some country crazy place, and then
Right.
they cooked for the queen, and it's like, yeah, but they probably also were super depressed or like had some
Right.
really huge and long periods of depression and sadness in their life. And it doesn't mean that your life is any worse, and it doesn't mean that your life's any better.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Everything's relative for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you look back on those nostalgic things and people like either try to recreate those same things like with the same conditions, but when you think about it, and like I had this same point when I was in this rut for like a year, like it was some point in college. It was in the summertime, and I was like, I've been doing the same shit I've been doing, but I don't have any nostalgia. Like, I guarantee you I won't have any nostalgia like 2 months from now because this summer is pretty similar to last summer. So you can't have like, but like you look back at it at all the times you were nostalgic, and it was always like taking spontaneous chances and like surprises. So it's like,
Yeah.
you can't force nostalgia to be like, let me recreate this.
Because you're not thinking in the moment. Like when you're happy, when you're in a happy experience, like you're not thinking about those things. You're not thinking about, oh, I can't wait to think about this later. Like that's weird. It's like weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's almost like a emotional perversion, like if that's a way to describe it.
No,
like,
I agree.
Yeah, it's like why are you thinking about that? Like, are you always trying to have something to think about later? It's like weird.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to like utilize, like add utility to something that's like supposed to be like organic and in the moment. That's weird.
Oh,
damn.
I had a thought that I was thinking about, but totally forget it. It's like what you were earlier.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. Is that a real plant? It looks it's fake.
Oh yeah, the tree.
Oh, it looks like a Lego tree, Loki.
Yeah, it's big. Totally big.
Damn.
Oh, I was getting sweaty legs.
Yeah, dude, my room's fucking cooking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 93 degrees down here.
Is it? Wait, where are you at?
Yeah, Columbus.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, it's 91 in Hudson.
Yes. Is that where you're at?
Unhealthy air. Yeah, unhealthy air quality for sensitive groups. Yeah. So, damn, bro. But we talked about a lot of shit. I had a blast.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was great.
If you want to plug any of your YouTube stuff or your music stuff, feel free to do it.
Yeah. You can follow me at Cosmic Cobbler on YouTube. I make really weird reviews and tutorial videos for stuff that I like. I don't know. I feel like I just like I'll think of or try and search up a video that I'm looking for, and then I won't be able to find it so many times. So I'm like, I'm just gonna make it, I'll just make it. Like, I'll just make it for this. Like, the last one I did was about Spigeon cases, and I just love their cases. Like, I used it. I've actually used them forever. I bought probably like 3 or 4 Spigeon cases. They're like cheap cases that you buy on Amazon.
Okay.
And I've never had a problem. I literally have never had a problem with those phones ever since I got that. Before then, I like cracked my phones and did whatever. But other than that, you can follow me at SoundCloud at Brother Remus or ESMR, or I might even have another account. I don't really know. I make weird synth sounds with my computer.
Dope.
And synth.